Hi guys, Constance here at A Good Life Farm. So I am taking advantage of some temperate weather. It's a little rainy, but the temperatures are beautiful right now, and I'm enjoying my front porch with a cup of coffee. And I just wanted to talk to you about something that I did last month, and I realized I had never shared this experience that I had, and that is when I headed up to Front Royal, Virginia, and I went to the Homesteaders of America conference. And while I shared all about the conference, I didn't share about the hands-on workshop that I did the day prior to the conference beginning. This was a workshop at the Homestead. The sweet lady who gave the workshop, her name is Kaylee, and she did a phenomenal job. Now when I went, I was a little nervous because while I want to have bees here on the homestead, I am a little hesitant because I don't want to get stung, but I know that that's going to happen at some point. I just have to face it. That's the price of having bees. But having bees here on the homestead is something that we want to do. But while I have books and I have, all of these things about beekeeping, being able to actually go out there and walk through the process and see what's being done and ask questions was absolutely priceless. And so we started the day early in the morning, headed out there to her farm, and the first thing that we did was had a sit-down chat, and she gave us the basic background information, how she got started keeping bees, and some things that you needed to know when it came to simply setting up your bees, like where is a good place to keep them, what direction should you have the hives facing, all sorts of things like that. And as it turned out, in sitting through that part of the workshop, I realized we had the perfect spot for bees here at A Good Life Farm. Right here in front of me, I have a fenced-in garden area that has an electric hot wire along the top. And that is the perfect setup for protecting your bees, because things like raccoons like to get into your beehives too, because they want honey as well. And so this fenced area is perfect, and it's almost identical to the sort of setup that she had for her own bees there. So now when I put in the posts for this garden out front, I made it way bigger than necessary, because I had the idea that down the road there would be more and more things put in. So I kind of built it big to begin with. And because the far end has nothing in it yet, I can cordon off one of the corners and just designate that as the bee area. So I'm pretty excited about that, to already have the perfect spot to put them. Now after we did the sit down part and got a lot of the background information, we headed over into her fenced in garden area, and she walked us through showing the different equipment and tools that she uses in her beekeeping. And she talked about the pros and the cons of certain items, things that she used when she first started, but then she doesn't really use anymore. And so it was really good information to learn.
This is a new tool that was sent to me, and I'm kind of excited about it. We're gonna give it a shot. This is a comb for extracting honey. So we're gonna try this today. So if it's horrible, I'm going to apologize.
So
it is like an uncapping. So
it's a comb for extracting honey, honeycomb, if you would.
Yes. So yes, it's a honeycomb. So we're going to try this today and see what I think about it. If not, you've got the Old Faithful. One of the other tools when it comes to extracting, this is an electronic hot knife. It works pretty well. It gets hot, so be careful what you put it on. I learned that. That was fun. But it's when you're extracting your honey, which we'll get into that, comb is your gold. So you want to extract in a way that prevents the comb from being destroyed, because ultimately it took them a whole year to get that comb built. So if you can extract and still salvage the comb, then you're 2 years ahead for the next year.
So next, we suited up and we headed over to the beehives. But before we got into the boxes, the traditional hives that she has there, she showed us a very unusual one. So this particular hive was actually inside a tree. Now this tree was at the home of a senator in the area, and they knew this tree was about to come down. It was very old and it wasn't going to be staying there, but they knew there were bees inside there. So they asked them to come and get these bees. And so they went and they actually cut out the section of the tree where the bees were, and they brought it back to her farm, and they built this sort of contraption, door and everything around the opening of the tree, and they call it their Frankenhive or their Frankenstein hive. I think they said Frankenhive. And so that was the first one that we got to take a peek inside, and it was pretty neat seeing this natural honey hive.
When they fly in, they're actually coming this way. So when I walk up to my bees, I actually kind of do one of those walk arounds. Every once in a while one will run into me, and that's where they get caught in my hair. So, you know, respecting their flight pattern is very important with being a good beekeeper. While he's getting the drill, because we're going to crack this one open, this is part of the tree, so you can see the comb that was naturally starting to, they were starting to build the colony up. And actually, this colony is mainly about here, but it goes all the way. That's how big it is. So I can't even get all the way up there unless I actually go in and start breaking down the colony, but we're not to that point yet. My goal is to see them through the winter, and then by next year, maybe transplant them into a regular colony. Yeah, they're fine. So this colony literally goes all the way up. Now, theoretically, it would have been amazing if we could have secured this colony to actually be upright, like normal. The hive, this tree, because when it came down, it did have damage. It's not safe for me to keep up here standing upright. We would have to fabricate a whole frame for it. And I've got, you know, I'm up here, got kids, you know, and so
Go ahead.
ultimately, and then I had a lot of people who say, oh, they're not going to make it because you just disrupted their colony. Yes, I did disrupt it. However, if a colony that's in a tree falls down, they're still going to be okay. Bees are so resilient. And if you look, you can actually see comb that they're already starting to grow to become more vertical. So this is definitely an experiment. I will know in the next 2 weeks if they're going to survive or not. And that's because of the age of the bees. They'll only live to be about 6 weeks. So if I don't start seeing new queens or new eggs or new young bees, then I need to make a decision and either give them a queen or call it what it is.
Would they defend the wood from termites?
Yes, actually they would.
Oh, that's cool.
Bees are pretty, once they know, like, hey, this is my home, any intruder, they're gonna put up a good fight.
Nice.
So, and a lot of them, what's really cool is when they come in, they start seeing, like, you know, something that's coming into the hive that could do some damage, they ball up, and that's where they just heat them up and get them going.
Now that comb goes all the way up to here.
No, all the way to the edge.
I mean, it's up there.
I
This
tried to
is
take a
hollow
light.
right here.
I tried to take a light and get in there, and I'm like halfway in this tree trying to see, because, you know.
You have your camera now.
Yeah, I know. I need to get that.
Then we headed over to the traditional beehives, the boxes, and she opened them up, and she showed us how she opens them, the order that she goes through the frames, how she looks for the queen and checks on the health of her hive, sees if there's anything that needs to be done. And it was just absolutely informative and so helpful to be able to actually see these things, to see the difference between capped honey or what a brood cell looks like, and when you have new queens that are developing. So it was a great experience being able to walk through that with her.
This is perfect, guys.
Right there.
So if you ever wanted to get into the hive and you want to see something in there, go like this.
You said a peanut, what's that? So there's
Situation, I
Yeah.
probably am not queen right now. So this is probably a emergency queen situation. So you might not see a queen in this. And she'll be in here, which is not a bad thing, because I could always take one out, cut the comb out, I could piece it into that colony over there, and I could let them make their own queen.
How long does it take to make a queen?
It is 14 days.
Oh, that's not long at all. You're saying it's an emergency situation because there's so many of them?
No, emergency situation is they want to have a queen no matter what. So something could have happened and they could have, the queen could have died.
So that's an indication that they don't have a queen right now.
Right. That right here could be an indication.
And what did you say about the split? That means you're going to take those queen
If I
off
have
and-
multiple that look like this, I would take one of them and I could probably make a split. This time of year, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because it's a lot to build up. Luckily, we have a lot of comb and everything. But sometimes it's best to just let them figure it out. I'm going to let this colony figure it out. You know, these right here, they're doing good. See how they're tending?
And those are the nurse bees you
These are
said
the
you
nurse
would
bees.
take with them?
And this right here, this is brood. So
what will happen if there's 4 queens?
the first one that'll hatch, which is probably going to be her, is going to go in and kill everybody else.
So how do you do
The
the
other
different-
queens?
Yeah.
You're going to kill the other queens?
So
It looks like dried up chocolate.
So why?
Like old chocolate that's crystallized.
yeah,
Why wouldn't you take those other 3 and then maybe sell them as queen bees to
you could,
somebody else?
you could, but if that queen comes out and there might be
Before
something
you-
wrong, then I've just shot my chances.
So then, of course, the whole purpose for keeping bees, besides them being excellent pollinators for your garden, your crops, is the honey. And so we headed into her little she shed and she spun some honey for us.
So
And you said they average about
goodness.
how many pounds?
60 pounds per
Vic, where are you?
per box.
Per box, yeah.
Vic.
That's probably about 5 to 10.
Come feel this, how heavy
See,
it
the
is.
bees are already like,
Yeah, you want to definitely.
yeah.
That's surprising.
It's one of the messiest jobs in the whole thing.
All right, so there's a couple of different ways to extracting your honey. There's one method that people do. It's called the crush and strain method, and that's basically where they take the frame of honey and they crush it and strain it out in a filter. And then the honey will pour out and the wax and everything will stay like what's in that. That is all cappings that we've saved from cutting it out. We prefer the spinning method because as soon as I'm done spinning, I give it back to the bees. Because that, again, is a year of work that they just did. So by planning your extracting that way, you will be a year ahead, 2 years ahead, really, with your bees.
Okay, this is the new knife.
So this is the new knife, so I don't know if it's gonna work. So you can place this kind of on here to help. I don't normally use it, I just kind of do one of these. So let's see if this works. Let's see if it's supposed to go.
Draw back.
Is it a
Draw
drawback?
toward you.
All right.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I like that one. What's it called?
This is.
Cat decapper.
Is it a
Decapper.
decap?
So you're going. Can you see it?
See, he just cuts the cap right off of it.
That's a nice one.
They make a couple of different sizes.
I want to chew all that stuff off.
Yeah, I wanted the smaller one. I like it because when using the old ones, it just tears up the whole comb.
Yeah.
That is so much better. Gosh, it was a
This
nightmare.
is a lot easier to do it this way.
Yeah, but I think you should get the smaller
I
one.
probably will. So
Because sometimes you get frames that aren't completely
Oh,
solid,
God.
so it has to. So you're kind of going up and down on it.
Yeah.
This is nice and even, and hopefully that. When we first
you know, and my mindset is that bottom box, that's to the bees. The second box is to the bees. I don't do that clean excluder that keeps the queen. So there's a frame, a screen that the queen can't go up.
She's too big.
She's too big. So basically everything that happens from that excluder up is honey. Versus she can only lay. I don't do that because I want her to go where she needs to go. I want her to be able to.
So overall, I'm very happy that I signed up to do that workshop. There were several workshops that really interested me, but when I saw the beekeeping one, I knew that was the one that I needed to do, just because we do want to have bees here at some point in the future, and being able to walk through the process with Kaylee at the Homestead was an irreplaceable experience. So thank you to Kaylee for inviting us all to your farm. If you are interested in beekeeping, check out her channel, the Homestead. I will put a link to it down below. And if you are contemplating going to the Homesteaders of America conference next year, I highly recommend it. There was so much wonderful information that was shared in all of the different sessions. If travel is not something that you are able to do, you can get a membership to the website and have access to all of those sessions and watch them all online. But I do still recommend going if you can. I am absolutely going to be going again next year. I had a wonderful time, and if the tickets aren't already on sale, they will be going up very, very soon. I know they went up last year sometime around Thanksgiving. That is it. Thanks for joining me here at A Good Life Farm. My name is Constance, and be sure to check out my blog, cosmopolitancornbread.com, where there are hundreds of home cooking recipes and helpful articles. And I will talk to y'all next time.